everyone, and Draco Magnius here once again for another lesson in Wizardry. For today's lesson, we'll be covering quite a lot. We have 12 different spells to cover since the Fairy Godmother was quite generous with the spells she gave us. Spells, rather, that she gave us. Even though we're not going to use quite a bit of them, but that's neither here nor there. We're also going to be covering gems, Tahiti proper, as well as the Fairygrounds, the boss we fought, the Royal Jelly, and the story we just got, the boy who would become God. Alright, but without further ado, let's start with our very first spell, Vacate. This one we actually got from Horace, if you'll remember. Make a hasty exit from a perilous situation. Fleeing in the face of danger is sometimes the wisest and the bravest course of action. This spell allows you to do just that, no matter how many walls may stand between you and your freedom. Note, the sheer intensity of the translocation process makes it unsuitable for long-distance travel. It will, however, reliably extricate you from any cave, maze, or gingerbread house that you happen to blunder into. Alright, and now I will show you how to use this very valuable spell. I will see you all in just a moment. Alright, let's get started on this room. Before we do, I'd like to bring attention, you'll notice that you can see a lot more of the room now than before. Since I'm recording on the new laptop, it has a new camera, which is significantly better than the old one. Things seem to be a lot brighter, you can see my face a lot clearer. You can see this stupid punching bag that's in the way because of where the hook on the ceiling is placed, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get started on that rune, shall we? Alright, so for this one, what you're going to want to do is... Let me make sure it's actually on screen. Okay, there we go. You're going to want to make an elongated C. And then under that C, you're going to start making stairs, intersect into it, and then go forward. One more time. Elongated C. Staircase. And we're good. And now quickly. Alright! And with that, we move on to our next spell. I'll see you in just a moment inside the book. Okay, next spell on our list here is Levitate, the first spell we got from Fairy Godmother that's quite useful. Float gracefully and glide through the air. This spell releases a wizard from gravity's clutches, allowing him to float weightlessly through the air. Of course, no human can ever escape grounds permanently, and the time and distance for one can float are determined by one's magical abilities. Many wizards have forgotten this often, with disastrous consequences. Yes, that's right, so make sure you know how far you can actually go with Levitate before you try doing something risky like, oh, I don't know, levitating yourself and then walking across an empty expanse like a cliff or something, because you might end up dead. But without further ado, let me show you how to do this. Alright, now this one is pretty simple. We start by drawing a straight line across. Now, this one's kind of hard to describe exactly what it is, but I'm going to go with, it's basically like your foot pointing towards the ground, you know? It's kind of hard to show you my foot, I'd have to get up to do that. But like, let's say my hand is a foot, this hand. And it's like your foot is pointing downward, like you're stepping up, I guess would be the best way to put it. I don't know. I mean, at least that's the best way I can think of to describe it. Maybe you can think of something better and put it in the comments. If you can help each other out too, that would be great. But let's once again show how to draw. Again, we start near the bottom, a straight line, and then we do our foot. And now fast. Actually, that was pretty bad, that one. I made a little too angular at the end there. Let me try that again. There we go, that's better. Alright, now we move on to our third spell of the day. Alright, and the next spell on the list is Shift Shape, which isn't useful in the game, but it could be useful to you specifically. Change your appearance and become a perfect copy of another being. An extremely powerful spell that allows the caster to adopt all the characteristics of another living being. From the mannerisms of a wizard to the flying ability of a winged beast. Heading out into the field and studying creatures in their natural habitats will increase the number of alternate forms you can adopt. But now I will show you how to draw this immensely powerful rune. Alright. Now this one is relatively simple. You're going to make a hill and a valley, and then strike through where the hill becomes the valley. So I'll show that one more time. And there. Alright, and now fast. Okay, now we move on to our next spell. And here we have Second Self, which you'd think would be more useful than it actually is, but oh well. Create a foolproof doppelganger of yourself. You have no doubt wondered, as many wizards have, how much better would life be if you had another self to use as you saw fit. Master this spell and you need wonder no more. Be aware, however, that manipulating a second self is extremely draining, and that even the most powerful wizards are incapable of doing it for very long. Now, I find it odd that the game doesn't use this spell more. Being able to create a second version of yourself to use for puzzles would be an interesting mechanic, but although I suppose since you do have other people with you, if you did need to use a puzzle that involved multiple people, you have multiple people, so maybe that's just why. But regardless, I will teach you how to draw the rune for this spell so you can all make your second self. I will see you again in just a moment. Alright, we have another simple one here. The best way I can explain this one is you're going to draw like a torso, you know, upper body and legs. You don't need the arms or the head, obviously. Just, you know, center body, legs. So, I'll start that again. You start to draw the first body, and then you draw your second self. One more time. First body, and second self. The one thing that might be a little tricky is getting the spacing right. Because, I mean, obviously, it's not like you have a diagram in front of you that you can trace, so getting the spacing between the two bodies might be a little difficult for you. But if you practice enough, you should be able to get it right. So, now we do fast. Alright, and again, we're going for more before we move on, because, again, even though this is an easy rune to draw, there are some difficulties with it, so I'll just touch on this a little bit more. You're going for an upside-down triangle shape with both bodies, obviously, with the little legs coming off. So make sure when you're drawing, you're making a triangle, and you're not going and making it more curved at the end. Alright, but with that all said and done, we move on to our, let's see, where are we? Our 5th spell, I believe, for this lesson? I'll see you in just a moment. Alright, and now we move on to our next spell, Mimic. Another spell given to us by the Fairy Godmother, which won't be used in the game, which had the potential to be used, but they just decided not to. Useful to you, though. Perform uncanny interpretations upon demand. The wizard who casts this spell gains the ability to speak with any voice he desires. A man's, a woman's, a grandparent's, even a baby's. It's an extremely useful piece of magic, to be sure, but one famous for causing untold confusion, conflict, and, regrettably, a short war. Be careful when using your newfound vocal talents within earshot of unsuspecting humans. Yes, always tread in the side of caution when using Mimic. You could get yourself and others into a lot of trouble. That said, it's still very useful. So now we show you how to draw that rune. Alright, now this one's a little tougher. We're going to start by drawing, I guess you would say, a sideways V, like lying on the ground. Like this is how you draw a normal V. This one's flopped on its side. So I'll show that again. Sideways V. And then you go up, and you draw the number 4 going through it. One more time. Let me go a little further towards the bottom to make this a little more viewable. Sideways V. And then the number 4. I still feel like that was a little bit off screen, that one. How about we go... Yes, this should do nicely. One more time. And the number 4. Perfect! Okay. Now, fast. Start from right to left. Alright! And with all that said and done, we move on to our very next spell. Spell number 6, Halfway Point. Alright, spell number 6, Vanish. One that, again, would have been useful to have in the game, but they didn't put it. Although I do believe we get a spell of a similar effect to this one later, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Become invisible and disappear into the shadows. Using Vanish renders a wizard invisible to the eye. Furthermore, it also removes every trace of his presence and even conceals his smell, making it utterly impossible for anyone to detect him. Mastering this spell is considered the first step towards wizarding excellence. Now allow me to show you this spell's rune. It's actually really simple. Alright, as I said, this rune is actually really simple, because basically what we're doing is we're making 2 right angles to make a box. So, start with the top half, then do the bottom half, making them intersect at where they end and begin. So I do that slowly one more time. First one, second one, and now quickly. Alright, now we move on to lucky spell number 7. Alright, next we have Werecat. Become a cat and experience life as a feline. This spell turns you into a cat, allowing you to converse freely with fellow felines everywhere. I mean, you could do that with nature's tongue, so that part of it isn't really that valuable, but, oh, even as it says, you could just talk to them using nature's tongue, of course, but they're more likely to speak from the heart when conversing with their own kind. In any case, fully immersing yourself in another mode of life is an invaluable experience for any wizard. So if you ever wanted to transform into a cat, this is the rune for you. But now I shall show you how to draw this rune so that you may go on feline... I was trying to look for a word that would be like synonymous with adventure, but with an F, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Feline fancies? I guess that works. So you can go on some feline fancies. Okay, we have another simple rune here. This one we're going to draw the letter M, and then under that M, wrong side, we draw a smiley face, going from right to left. So one more time. We start a fumble. We start the letter M, and then we draw a hill under it, or if you want to go with a frowny face, that you could also think of it that way. And now quickly. Now, it's odd, I find, that the rune for Werecat is an M, or a mountain. I suppose you could refer to them as 2 mountains, but I'm getting off topic here. It's an M and the lowercase and the hill. Why is it that for Werecat? I mean, I could understand if it was maybe a W, but whatever. Runes are strange. But now we move on to the next spell, number 8. And next we have Werefish. Become a fish and discover the joys of the life aquatic. This spell turns the caster into a fish and grants the ability to converse with other aquatic creatures. The difference of breathing underwater have meant that nature's tongue has never been a practical method of communicating with fish, making this spell your only real option if you wish to gain a deeper understanding of life beneath the water's surface. Some claim that fish have a clearer view of the world than those who dwell on land, but clarity should not be confused with wisdom. Also, keep in mind, if you do use the Werefish spell, you're going to have to keep a watch for predators. I mean, you can of course use spells, but you'd be a fish, and who knows if that'd be as effective as if you were a human using spells. Considering you shrink down as well, it's really unknown if your magic power would, but that's neither here nor there. Now I will show you how to transform yourself into a fish. Okay, now Werefish is tricky. To simplify what you're trying to go for here, we're basically drawing the rune as if the rune itself is a fish. We start, of course, with the back fin and body. And then after drawing the body, we draw the fish's head. So one more time, we draw the back fin, the body, and the head. And now quickly. Alright, and if you followed all that, you're good. But now we move on to spell number, what are we on? 9, I believe? There's so many spells I sometimes lose track. But yes, I believe we're on 9, so we're going to be heading to that right now. Alright, and next spell is Shrink. Another one that I'm sad to say I'm pretty sure isn't in the game, even though it could have been used for various puzzles. Reduce your body to a fraction of its size. Though rarely acknowledged, the size of a wizard's body can sometimes limit the options that are available to him. This spell makes the caster small enough to fit into someone's pocket, allowing one to slip in and out of mouse holes and explore the world of the miniature. Simply drawing the rune again reverses the spell's effect, a fact to remember in the presence of cats. And other predators, because I mean, let's say you're out in an open field and a bird comes by, you might get picked up by the bird. So if you turn back to a human while it's in your grasp, you'll fall, but hopefully it's not too high up when you do that. So I guess, really, if you want to be smart about it, do not use this spell when outside, when there might be predators about. If you need to go inside a mouse hole to explore, sneak into places, or if you have to be really small because only one person can get into the club, let's say, that you're trying to get into, and, you know, you want to be sneaky about it, you can hide in their pocket. But that's neither here nor there. I do not advocate using the spell to sneak into places that you're not supposed to go unless you have to. But now let me show you to draw the rune. Alright, and now we're drawing Shrink. Like the 2 runes ago, we're drawing an M, but this one is slightly different. It is a smaller M on the top with a longer up. After you draw your M, you go roughly down where you started the M, like about there, I believe. And then you draw 1 step. So, one more time. We draw the M, and the step going through roughly the middle. And one more time, just for clarity's sake. Was that too high? That might have been a little too high. See, I want to focus on the actual image of the rune while I'm drawing it to make sure that I have it absolutely correct. It's not that I haven't drawn them before, it's just that, you know, I want to make sure I'm drawing it correct for the video, and I want to look at you guys as well via the camera there, but sometimes I need to check the actual recording there to make sure everything is set up correctly. But that's enough of a peek behind the veil. Now we move on to spell number 10, I believe. Yes, 10. Alright, next we have Open Mind. Peek inside a person's mind and listen to the voices within. There are a variety of reasons why humans decide to close their hearts and conceal their feelings. Should you wish to learn more about such people, this spell may be your only recourse. Mercifully, Open Mind does not wrench open people's hearts. Instead, it brings you closer to them and attunes you to their feelings, and lets you listen to their inner dialogue. Naturally, this can leave you rather in their thrall, so take care not to become too entranced by the innermost thoughts of the wrong kind of people. But, at your discretion, I will now show you how to draw the rune for Open Mind, so that you can glimpse what people are thinking more accurately. Alright, this one is a lot trickier than the other ones. It's kind of hard to describe what we're about to draw, but just start from here and go diagonally downward. When you get to this point here, we go up, we go across to the right a little bit, and we go diagonally up. I guess this part here, I guess the best way would describe it would be maybe like a nose, perhaps? I mean, that's the only way I can think to describe it, unfortunately. But after you draw our nose, we make a C. Or I suppose an open parenthesis would be closer, because it's wider than the letter C is. So I'm going to show that one more time. Starting from here. We go diagonally down, up, to the right, diagonally up. And then from roughly around here, we draw our open parenthesis, and that is Open Mind. Now I'm going to draw it fast this time to show how it's supposed to look proper. There we go, that's about right there. Okay, with all that said and done, we move to our second to last spell. I will see you all in just a moment. And here we have Loaf of Life. Produce a fresh loaf of bread to ward off hunger. Hunger is a traveling wizard's greatest enemy. It affects one's physical strength as well as one's mental capacity and decision-making powers, often leading to life-threatening situations. Should you find yourself in such a desperate state, you can always rely on Loaf of Life. Just remember that this spell is only to be used in times of genuine crisis, not merely when you're feeling peckish. For example, you're all out of food, you're in the middle of, let's say, the desert, and there's not food for miles. That's when you would use this spell. You wouldn't go, well, you know, I haven't eaten lunch since noon, and it's like 4 right now, I should really have something to eat, let me pop up some loaf. Also, this proves, for certain and for true, that Jesus Christ was in fact a wizard. Isn't there a story where he makes a bunch of bread? Jesus Christ's a wizard. But now we move on so I can show you how to emulate Jesus Christ and make loaves of bread on your own. Okay, now for this one, you could look at this a number of ways, but I'm going to use this based on what I know we're doing here. So we start by drawing just a line. We'll say like this is the stove. And then above the stove, we draw our 2 buns. Now you can interpret this any way that helps you remember it. For example, I could see you saying that the second part is you drawing a butt, or breasts. Whatever makes you remember it correctly. I won't judge you for it. After all, I thought that first too. But then I thought, well, they're probably making it bread. But one more time. Draw the line across. Draw your bread. And now quickly. Alright, and now we move on to the final spell for this particular lesson. I will see you in just a moment. Our final spell is Poison Apple. Conjure up an apple that drips with deadly venom. The apple produced by this spell will kill you when eaten. Though it's only a temporary death, it is not the most popular spell, for understandable reasons, but young wizards would still do well to master it. If you crave life, brave death would seem a questionable mantra, but there may yet be some shred of truth to it. Alright, and I will show you how to create these poisonous apples. Okay, this rune is actually pretty simple. We're going to start from roughly up here, and we're going to draw an apple with a bite out of it, and we're going to strike through the apple. One more time. Draw an eaten apple, and strike through. And now, quickly. Alright, and with all of that said and done, ladies and gentlemen, we are done with our spells for the day. Now we move on so that I can teach you more about gems, since we actually got our first gem in-game. I will see you all in just a moment.